The political system inside Singapore was established under Mr. Lee's leadership.
Yeah.
There are mixed views about whether this system is the best in the world, whether there has been too much personal involvement in the political system. Mr. Ambassador, being someone in Singapore for 3 to 4 years in an important position, what do you think about this issue?
Well, first, thank you for having me on the show, and I want to express my condolences to the Lee family and to Singaporeans everywhere on the passing of Lee Kuan Yew. The political system, I think, was representative of the times. Lee Kuan Yew was the right person at the right time at Singapore's founding, and his influence was very strong politically in the first 50 years of the country's independence. But I think we'll see in the next 50 years, Singapore's political system continue to evolve. It's something that's only natural for a country like Singapore, which is highly educated, as has been noted in the introduction to the program, very prosperous, and one whose citizens travel the world.
I see. Mr. Liu, you've been also traveling the world and of course to Singapore as well. What do you think about this issue? In 2007, let me just give you a cue there. In an interview with New York Times, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, we are ideology free. Whatever is good, we're gonna try it. If we fail, we're gonna try something else. Do you think Singapore is ideology free? And do you think Singapore will be the same politically anymore after the 2011 election?
After the 2011 election, the political backdrop in Singapore has been changing. Many things have led to the changing national situations. First, as the US ambassador said a minute ago, the political system that was designed by Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has changed. From the global perspective, the global economy is moving. Singapore as a state nation has to adapt to the new changing situation. ASEAN is changing to moving to a common market. Can Singapore continue to serve as the regional engine? It's an open question. The geographical advantages that has been enjoying is changing. When the new canal is dug through Thailand, the geographical advantages that being enjoying is going to diminish.
Right. So you think economical and geopolitical issues might have an impact on where Singapore
and also,
is going?
more importantly, the political change. When Mr. Lee Kuan Yew was in power, the opposition parties were kept at the bay. Now, with the passing away, the nation moves into an area we call it post-Lee Kuan Yew era. How is the new government to accommodate the opposition parties? It's a new change, a new challenge, in fact. So many things are pointing to one question. When a nation is at the crossroad, it has to change, both politically, economically, socially.
Mr. Lee has been a paramount leader in Singapore, particularly regarding Singapore-China relations. Well, of course, he's coming from a Chinese family originally, and he visited China more than 20 times after the Cultural Revolution. 14 years earlier than the diplomatic relations was established, and he has been an interpreter of what China is to the rest of the world, particularly to the West. But here, mixed feelings in China. On the one hand, sometimes the Chinese and the Chinese government do not really agree what Mr. Lee said about China or where China is heading for. But on the other hand, there's enormous amount of respect for him as an individual and as a visionary leader. How would you explain that kind of mixed feeling to us?
Chinese government has stated official policy stance towards the status of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew in terms of Sino-Singaporean relations. But to me, he's really a kind of mixed personality. In terms of values or cultural values, he was a Chinese, but he was very much adapted to the Western values. So there was a kind of value differences. And in terms of the policy towards China, it's also a double-faced posture towards China. Economically speaking, he was trying to form the kind of partnership with China, through which he could benefit Singaporean economic development. But in the political strategic point of view, he's been forming the kind of relationship, partnership with the major powers within or without, the region, in order to hedge Singaporeans' security future vis-a-vis China. In terms of economic cooperation, for a long time he was supporting China in every way.
Right.
Now, I think he's looking at a different perspective as ASEAN is moving to the common market. The policy standards from Singapore to China has been changed a little bit.
Okay, how much, Ambassador Edelman?
If I could just
does,
add,
yes,
I
sir,
think
please go ahead.
I think you've asked exactly the right question, because it really captures the essence of what Lee Kuan Yew meant to Singapore and meant to the world. When I was the United States ambassador, we had no better advisor, no one who provided greater insight into China than Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. We often called on Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, who was then the minister mentor in Singapore, when we sought guidance and advice with regard to how to interpret some of the developments in China. So his ability to work closely with both the United States and China to ensure a constructive relationship made him, and as a result, Singapore, indispensable in international relations in Asia. The second piece of this, I think, is he was the leader of Singapore that recognized for such a small country with limited resources to succeed, Singapore must go abroad. Singapore must engage the world. And that, I think, was something that served as a model for other countries in Southeast Asia. It's really the inspiration for what has created ASEAN's broader perspective and countries surrounding Singapore's willingness to engage the international community.